Tael had never understood why the galaxy feared humans so much. They were small creatures. They had no claws, no armor, no venom. Their teeth were flat and useless. Their skin was soft and easy to cut. When Tael first joined the human survey ship called the Bright Dawn, he thought the stories about humans were just silly tales that species told each other to seem interesting. He was a Velrani, a species known for their careful nature and love of knowledge. His people had 4 arms, blue-gray skin, and large eyes that could see in the dark. They were scholars and scientists, not fighters. Tael had joined the human crew because he wanted to study them. He wanted to understand why so many species spoke about humans in whispers. For 3 months, Tael watched and learned. The humans were strange, yes. They laughed at danger. They made jokes when things went wrong. They ate food that would kill most species and called it spicy. They slept for hours in complete stillness, like they were dead, and then woke up ready to work again. But none of this explained the fear. None of this explained why the Korvathi Empire refused to go to war with Earth. None of this explained why the ancient Drell, who had conquered 1,000 worlds, treated humans with such careful respect. Tael thought he would never understand. Then the distress signal came. The Bright Dawn was flying through a quiet part of space, far from any major trade routes. Captain Han was on the bridge, looking at star maps with his usual calm expression. Han was a tall man with short black hair and eyes that always seemed to be thinking about something far away. He rarely raised his voice. He rarely showed strong emotion. But his crew followed him without question. Yuna was there too. She was the ship's medic, a woman with a gentle face and quick hands. She smiled more than the captain. And she always had kind words for Tael when he felt lost or confused. She treated him like a younger brother, even though Tael was actually older than her by several decades. There were other humans on the ship. Deho was the engineer, a big man who sang songs while he worked. Mira was the pilot, young and eager, always wanting to fly faster. And there was old Quan, who handled communications and told stories about Earth that Tael only half believed. There were also other aliens. 3 Korvathi guards who kept to themselves. A Drell scientist named Vorik who studied plants. And 2 Mithrani traders who were catching a ride to the next station. It was a peaceful ship, a happy ship. Tael had started to feel like he belonged. Then Quan's voice broke the silence. "Captain, we have a distress signal." Han walked over to the communications station. His face did not change, but Tael noticed his shoulders become a little more tense. "Source? A research vessel. The Wandering Star. They went dark 6 days ago." Quan paused. "Captain, they were exploring the Hollow Zone." The bridge went quiet. Tael saw the 3 Korvathi guards look at each other. He saw Vorik, the Drell scientist, take a step back. Even the Mithrani traders, who had been playing a card game in the corner, stopped and stared. Tael did not understand. "What is the Hollow Zone?" "Look today, Cord." No one answered him at first. Then Yuna spoke, her voice soft. "It is a region of space. Very old. Very empty. Ships go in, but they do not always come out." "There is something there," Vorik said. His voice was shaking. Tael had never seen a Drell look afraid before. Something ancient. Something that feeds on minds. "We call it the Hollow. One of the..." Captain Han looked at the star map. The distress signal was coming from a small dot in a vast area of nothing. It would take 2 days to reach it. "How many people on the Wandering Star?" Han asked. 47 crew members, Quan replied. "Mixed species. Mostly scientists." Han nodded slowly. "Then we go." The reaction was immediate. The 3 Korvathi guards stepped forward, their scales turning a pale color that Tael knew meant fear. "Captain, with respect, we cannot. The Hollow is death. No Korvathi has ever survived contact with it." Vorik agreed quickly. "The Drell tried to study the Hollow 300 years ago. We sent 50 ships. 1 returned. The crew had torn out their own eyes. They said the Hollow showed them things that broke their minds. The Mithrani traders were already packing their bags. We will take an escape pod to the nearest station. We want no part of this. Tael felt cold. He looked at the humans, expecting to see the same fear. But they were calm. Han was still studying the map. Yuna was checking her medical supplies. Deho was running diagnostics on the engine. Mira was calculating flight paths. You cannot be serious, Tael said. His voice came out higher than he wanted. You heard what they said. The Hollow destroys minds. It breaks people. Even the Drell could not survive it. Han finally looked at him. His eyes were steady. There are 47 people on that ship. They sent a distress signal. That means someone is still alive. Someone is waiting for help. But the Hollow, I know. Han turned back to the map. We are still going. Tael watched as the non-human crew members prepared to leave. The Korvathi guards went first, their faces full of shame but also relief. Vorik followed, unable to meet anyone's eyes. The Mithrani traders did not even say goodbye. Within an hour, Tael was the only alien left on the ship. He should have gone with them. Every instinct told him to run. His people were not brave. They were careful. They survived by avoiding danger. Not by walking toward it, but something held him back. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the way Yuna had smiled at him and said, "You do not have to come, Tael. We understand." Maybe it was the way Han had not tried to stop anyone from leaving. Had not called them cowards or weak, or maybe it was the question that had brought him to this ship in the first place. The question that he still could not answer. Why did the galaxy fear humans? Tael stayed. The next 2 days were the longest of his life. He could not eat. He could barely sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined the Hollow. A thing that broke minds. A thing that made people tear out their own eyes. The humans acted like nothing was wrong. They worked. They ate together. They told jokes. Deho sang his songs. Mira practiced flying maneuvers. Quan told stories about a human warrior named Alexander, who had conquered half a world with just an army of men. Tael did not understand how they could be so calm. On the second day, he found Yuna in the medical bay. Preparing supplies. Bandages. Medicine. Tools. She was humming a soft tune. Are you not afraid? Tael asked. Yuna stopped humming. She looked at him with her warm brown eyes. Of course I am afraid. Then how can you smile? How can you work? How can you act like we are not flying to our deaths? Yuna thought for a moment. Then she said something that Tael would never forget. Fear is like a river, Tael. If you fight it, you will drown. But, if you learn to swim, it will carry you forward. She went back to her work. Tael stood there, trying to understand. The next morning, they arrived at the Wandering Star. The Wandering Star floated in the darkness like a dead animal. No lights. No movement. No signs of life. Just a metal shape against the endless black of space. Tael stood on the bridge of the bright dawn, looking at the view screen. His 4 hands were shaking. His 2 hearts were beating too fast. Everything inside him screamed to turn around and run, but the humans did not run. Captain Han stood at the center of the bridge, his arms crossed over his chest. He studied the dead ship with the same calm expression he always wore. Quan, any response to our signals? Nothing, Captain. The ship's systems are still running on emergency power. Life support is active in some sections, but no one is answering. All the starty. We've got. Nothing, Captain. Survivors? Impossible to say from here. The sensors cannot penetrate the hull properly. Something is blocking them. Han nodded like this was expected. Mira, bring us alongside. Docking port 3. The young pilot obeyed without hesitation. Her hands moved across the controls with practiced skill. The bright dawn glided closer to the silent ship, smooth and steady. Tael watched the Wandering Star grow larger on the screen. It was a science vessel, built for long journeys into unknown space. It should have been full of life and activity. Scientists working, crew members laughing. The hum of engines, and the beep of computers. Instead, there was only silence. Deho, Yuna, you are with me, Han said. Full gear. We do not know what we will find over there. The big engineer and the gentle medic nodded. They had done this before. Tail could see it in the way they moved, the way they checked their equipment. This was not new to them. Tail stepped forward before he could stop himself. I want to come. Han looked at him. There was no surprise in his eyes. Only something that might have been respect. You understand the risk. I understand nothing, Tail admitted. But I need to see. I need to know. Han studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded. Stay close to Yuna. Do exactly what we tell you. If we say run, you run. Understood? Tael agreed, even though he was not sure his legs would work if the time came. They put on their gear. The humans wore suits that covered their whole bodies, with helmets that protected their soft heads. They carried lights, tools, and weapons. Tael had never seen humans with weapons before. The sight made the fear worse somehow. The walk to the docking port felt like the longest walk of Tael's life. Every step brought them closer to the dead ship. Every step brought them closer to the hollow. The airlock opened with a hiss. The corridor beyond was dark. Emergency lights flickered red along the walls, creating shadows that moved like living things. Stay together, Han said. His voice was quiet but firm. Lights on. They turned on their lights. Bright beams cut through the darkness. Tael could see now. He almost wished he could not. The walls were covered in scratches, deep scratches, like someone had tried to claw their way out. There were marks on the floor too, drag marks that led deeper into the ship. What happened here? Tael whispered. Fear happened. Yuna said softly. The hollow shows you things. Things from your own mind. Your worst memories. Your deepest terrors. Most species cannot survive it. They moved forward. Deho took the lead, his big body blocking most of the corridor. Han walked behind him, weapon ready. Yuna stayed with Tael, her hand on his arm like she was ready to grab him if he tried to run. Tael would not run. He could not. His legs were not working right. Every step was a battle. They found the first body in the common room. It was a Korvathi, one of the lizard-like species that had served as guards on the wandering star. He was curled up in the corner, his scales gray and dull. His eyes were open, but they saw nothing. His claws had scratched deep grooves in the metal floor. Dead for days, Yuna said, checking the body. No wounds, no injuries. He just stopped. His heart gave out from fear, Deho said. There was no judgment in his voice, only sadness. Poor creature. They found more bodies as they went deeper. A Mithrani scientist who had sealed herself in a storage closet. 2 Drell researchers who had tried to reach the escape pods but never made it. A human engineer who had died at his station, still trying to send distress signals. That last one hit the humans hard. Tael saw it in their faces, the tightness around Han's eyes, the way Yuna's hands trembled as she closed the dead man's eyes, the low curse that Deho muttered under his breath. But they did not stop. They did not cry. They kept moving. There should be more survivors, Han said. The distress signal was sent 6 days ago. Someone had to be alive to send it. They reached the main research lab. The doors were sealed shut, locked from the inside. Deho tried to open them, but the lock held firm. Someone is in there, he said. The lock was activated manually. Han knocked on the door. 3 slow knocks. Then he spoke in a clear voice. This is Captain Han of the Bright Dawn. We received your distress signal. We are here to help. Silence. Then a voice. Weak. Scared. But alive. Go away. You cannot help. No one can help. Tael felt a chill run through him. The voice sounded broken, like a machine that was missing important parts. We are not leaving without you, Han said. Open the door. You do not understand. It is still here, the hollow. It is waiting. It wants us to come out. It wants to show us things. What things? A long pause. Then the voice spoke again. And this time, Tael heard something worse than fear. He heard understanding. Everything we have ever lost, everything we have ever failed, everything we have ever been ashamed of. It takes your memories and makes them into knives. It cuts you with your own past until there is nothing left. Yuna stepped forward. Her voice was gentle, like she was talking to a frightened child. What is your name? Jisoo. My name is Jisoo. I was the lead researcher. Jisoo. How many people are still alive in there? 7. There were 12 of us when we sealed the door. 5 could not hold on. The hollow took them without even touching them. Tal's blood ran cold. 7 survivors out of 47 crew members. And the hollow was still here, waiting in the darkness. Can you open the door, Jisoo? Han asked. If I open the door, it will get in. It will find us. It will show us more things. We will protect you. A bitter laugh came from the other side. You are human. Humans are strong. Yes. But you cannot fight this. This is not an enemy you can shoot or hit or outsmart. This is pure fear given form. This is every nightmare you have ever had, waking up and looking back at you. Han did not answer right away. When he did, his voice was steady. I have nightmares every night. I know what they look like. Silence again. Then, slowly, the door began to open. The survivors were huddled in the corner of the lab. 3 humans, 2 Velrani like Tile, 1 Korvathi, and Jisoo, a human woman with haunted eyes and gray streaks in her black hair. They looked at Han and his team like they were seeing ghosts. You came, Jisoo whispered. You actually came. We always come, Yuna said, kneeling beside her. That is what we do. Jisoo shook her head slowly. You should not have. The hollow knows you are here now. It will not let you leave. As if in answer, the lights flickered. The temperature dropped. And somewhere, in the darkness of the ship, something began to move. Tael felt it before he saw it. A pressure in his mind. A coldness in his chest. Memories began to surface without his permission. His mother's disappointed face. His failure at the academy. The day his sister died and he was not there. It is coming, Jisoo said, her voice rising with panic. It is coming for us. Han raised his weapon. Everyone stay close. We are leaving this ship. Now. The corridor had changed. Tael was sure of it. The scratches on the walls were different now. The emergency lights flickered in a pattern that seemed almost like breathing. The shadows moved when they should not move. And the cold was everywhere. Captain Han led the group through the darkness. His light cut through the black like a small sword. Behind him came Daeho, then the survivors, then Yuna and Tael, at the back. 17 people in total, moving through a ship that suddenly felt much larger than it should. Stay together, Han said. His voice was calm, but Tael heard something underneath. Not fear. Something else. Focus. Purpose. The pressure in Tael's mind was growing stronger. Memories kept pushing to the surface. Bad memories. Painful memories. Things he had tried to forget. His first day at the Science Academy, when the other students laughed at his accent. The experiment that went wrong and killed 6 test subjects. The look on his father's face when Tael told him he was leaving home. Tael shook his head, trying to push the memories away. But they kept coming. It is getting stronger. One of the Velrani survivors whispered. Her name was Sora. She had worked in the biology lab. Now she walked with her arms wrapped around herself, her large eyes wet with tears she was trying not to shed. Do not listen to it, Yuna said. The memories are real, but the feelings are being made stronger. The hollow feeds on fear. It makes your pain bigger, so it can eat more. How do you know that? Sora asked. Because humans have studied fear for a very long time. We know how it works. We know how to fight it. Tael wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe that there was a way to fight this thing. But the memories kept coming, and each one felt like a knife in his chest. They reached a junction in the corridor. 3 paths led in different directions. Han stopped, checking his device. "The docking port is to the left," he said. "Stay close. We are almost there." They turned left. The corridor stretched ahead of them, long and dark. At the far end, Tail could see the airlock that led back to the bright dawn. Safety. Escape. Then the lights went out. Complete darkness fell over them like a heavy blanket. Tael heard someone scream. He reached out with all 4 hands, trying to find something solid, something real. "Lights!" Han shouted. Flashlights came on. Beams of light crossed and danced in the darkness. Tail could see the others now, their faces pale with fear. But something was different. The corridor behind them was gone. In its place was a wall of darkness so deep that the flashlight beams could not touch it. It was like looking into nothing, into emptiness, into the space between stars. And in that darkness, something was watching. Tail felt it. 2 points of attention, fixed on him. Not eyes. The hollow did not have eyes. But it was looking at him, looking into him, reading every memory, every fear, every shame. "Do not look at it," Han said. His voice was steady. "Keep moving. Do not look." They started walking again. Faster now. The airlock was getting closer. 100 meters. 80. 60. The Velrani named Sora stopped. She turned to look at the darkness behind them. Her face went blank. Her eyes went wide. "Sora, no." Tael reached for her, but he was too slow. She opened her mouth and began to speak. But the voice that came out was not hers. "Little Tael, little frightened Tael, do you remember the day your sister died?" Tael froze. The voice knew. It knew everything. "You were supposed to be with her. You were supposed to watch her while your parents were away. But you were too busy with your studies, too busy being the smart one, too busy to notice that she was sick." "Stop," Tael whispered. "She called for you. In the night, she called for you. But you had your ears covered, because her coughing annoyed you. You wanted to sleep so you could study more. You wanted to be the best. Please stop. She died alone, Tael. She died calling your name. And you slept through it all." Tael fell to his knees. His whole body was shaking. The guilt he had carried for 30 years came rushing back, fresh and raw and terrible. He could see his sister's face, her small blue hands reaching for him, her eyes closing forever. "I am sorry," he said. Tears ran down his face. "I am sorry. I am sorry." The darkness grew closer. He could feel it now. Cold and hungry. It wanted him. It wanted his pain. Then something warm touched his shoulder. Yuna was there. She knelt beside him, her face close to his. Her eyes were sad but also strong. "Tael, listen to me. What happened to your sister was terrible. But it was not your fault. You were a child. You could not have known. I should have been there. I should have saved her. Maybe. Or maybe she would have died anyway. And you would have died with her. We cannot change the past, Tael. We can only choose what to do with it." The darkness pushed against them. Tael could feel the hollow's anger. It did not like this. It did not like Yuna's warmth cutting through its cold. "She is lying," the voice said through Sora's mouth. "She does not know your pain. She cannot understand. Give in to the guilt. Let it take you. It will be peaceful. No more shame. No more fear. Just nothing." Yuna did not look at the darkness. She kept her eyes on Tael. "Do you want to die here? In this cold place? Eaten by a thing that does not care about you?" Tael thought about it. Part of him did want to give up. Part of him was so tired of carrying the guilt. But another part of him remembered his sister's smile. Her laugh. The way she used to follow him around the house, asking questions about everything. She had loved him. She had looked up to him. Would she want him to die like this? "No," Tael said. His voice was small, but it was his own. "No, I do not want to die here. Yuna smiled. Then get up, we are leaving. She helped him stand. Around them, the other humans were doing the same thing. Deho was holding one of the human survivors, talking to him in a low voice. Han had his arm around Jisoo, whispering words that Tael could not hear. The Korvathi survivor had fallen. His scales were gray, his breathing shallow. But Deho lifted him over his shoulder like he weighed nothing. We are not leaving anyone behind, Han said. Move. They started walking again. The darkness followed them, pressing against their backs. The hollow was angry now. It screamed at them with 1,000 voices. Voices of dead friends, voices of lost parents, voices of children who were never born. Every step was a battle. Every meter felt like a kilometer. But the humans kept moving. And because the humans kept moving, so did everyone else. Sora was still frozen, her mouth still speaking the hollow's words. Tael went back for her. He grabbed her arm with 2 of his hands and pulled. Come on, he said. We are leaving. She resisted at first. The hollow had her tight. But Tael pulled harder. And slowly, she began to walk. The airlock was close now. 20 meters. 10. 5. Han reached it first. He slammed his hand against the control panel. The door opened with a hiss. Everyone inside, now. They pushed through the airlock. Humans and aliens together. The cold followed them. Reaching with invisible fingers, Tael was the last one through. He turned to look back at the corridor one more time. The darkness was right there. A wall of nothing, filled with everything he feared. And in that darkness, he saw something terrible. His sister. She was standing in the corridor, just beyond the airlock. She looked exactly like she had the last time he saw her alive. Small, and pale, and sick. Tael, she said. Her voice was soft. Why did you leave me? Why did you not save me? His heart broke. His legs stopped working. Then Han grabbed him and pulled him through the airlock. The door slammed shut. The cold disappeared. The pressure in his mind faded. Tael lay on the floor of the bright dawn, gasping for air. Around him, the survivors were crying and shaking. Even the humans looked pale, but they were alive. They had made it. Captain Han stood at the airlock controls, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. He looked at his crew, at the survivors, at Tael. Everyone accounted for? Yuna did a quick count. All 17. We lost no one. Han nodded. Then, for the first time since Tael had known him, the captain smiled. Let us go home. The bright dawn pulled away from the dead ship. Tael watched through the window as the wandering star grew smaller. Just a dark shape against the stars. A tomb floating in the void. They had escaped. They had survived. But the hollow was not finished with them. Tael felt it the moment they entered the jump lane. The cold came back. The pressure in his mind returned. Memories started to surface again, dark and painful. Captain, Mira said from the pilot's seat. Her voice was shaking. Something is wrong. The navigation system is showing nothing. Just empty space. No stars. No stations. Nothing. Han walked to the view screen. Outside, the familiar lights of the galaxy were gone. Instead, there was only darkness. Pure, endless darkness. It followed us, Jisoo whispered. She was sitting in the corner of the bridge, her arms wrapped around her knees. The hollow is not a place. It is a thing. And it does not let go easily. Tael's chest went tight. They were still inside the hollow. They had never really escaped. How do we get out? Han asked. His voice was calm, but Tael could see the tension in his shoulders. Jisoo shook her head. I do not know. We have been trapped for 6 days. Every time we tried to leave, we ended up back in the same place. The hollow keeps us here until we break, until there is nothing left. The other survivors were scattered around the bridge. The 3 humans sat together, holding hands. The 2 Velrani, Sora, and an older male named Jun were in the corner. The Korvathi was still unconscious, laid out on the floor with a blanket over him. Everyone looked broken. Everyone looked like they had given up, except the humans. Deho was at his station, running diagnostics on the engine. Yuna was checking the survivors, making sure everyone was stable. Quan was trying different communication frequencies, even though there was no one to hear. Mira kept her hands on the controls, ready to fly them anywhere, even if anywhere did not exist. And Han stood at the center of the bridge, thinking. "The hollow feeds on fear," he said slowly. "It uses our memories against us. It makes our pain stronger, so it can eat more." "Yes," Jisoo said. "We figured that out on the second day. But knowing does not help. You cannot stop being afraid. You cannot stop remembering." "No," Han agreed, "but you can change how you respond." He turned to face the crew. All of them. Humans and aliens. Survivors and rescuers. Listen to me. All of you. I am going to tell you something that humans learn very early. Something that has kept our species alive for 200,000 years. Teo leaned forward. He needed to hear this. He needed to understand. Fear is not your enemy, Han said. Fear is a tool. It is your body's way of telling you that something is dangerous. Every species feels fear. But most species let fear control them. They run. They hide. They freeze. They give up. He paused, looking at each person in turn. Humans do not work that way. We feel fear, yes. We feel it as strongly as anyone. But somewhere along the way, we learned something important. We learned that fear and courage are not opposites. Fear and action are not opposites. You can be terrified and still move forward. You can be screaming inside and still do what needs to be done. How? Sora asked. Her voice was desperate. How do you do that? Han smiled. It was a strange smile, full of pain and strength at the same time. We have a saying on Earth, feel the fear and do it anyway. It sounds simple, but it is the hardest thing in the universe, because it means accepting that you are afraid. It means stopping the fight against your own mind. And then it means moving forward despite everything your instincts are telling you. He pointed at the darkness outside the window. The hollow is using our fear as a weapon. It takes our memories and makes them into chains. But here is the thing about chains. They only work if you keep pulling against them. If you stop fighting, if you accept the weight, you can still walk. Tail thought about this. His whole life, he had been fighting against his fear. Fighting against the memory of his sister. Fighting against the guilt and the shame. What if he stopped fighting? What if he just accepted it? My sister died because I was not there, he said out loud. His voice surprised him. He had not meant to speak. But now that he had started, he could not stop. I have carried that guilt for 30 years. I have hated myself every single day. I thought if I could be good enough, smart enough, successful enough, I could make up for it. But nothing ever worked. The guilt just kept getting heavier. Yuna came to stand beside him. She did not say anything. She just put her hand on his shoulder. I am tired of fighting it, Tael continued. I am tired of pretending I am not afraid. I am tired of carrying this weight. I am tired of carrying this weight. He looked at Han. How do I accept it? How do I stop fighting? Han walked over to him. The captain's eyes were kind, but also hard. Like steel wrapped in cloth. You say it out loud. You tell the truth. And then you keep moving. Tael took a deep breath. The darkness outside pressed against the windows. The cold tried to push into his mind. But he pushed back. Not with force, but with acceptance. My name is Tael. I am a Velrani scholar. When I was young, my sister died because I was not watching her. I was afraid, and I was selfish, and I failed her. I have been running from that guilt my whole life. The words hurt. They hurt more than anything he had ever felt. But as he spoke them, something strange happened. The weight got lighter. I cannot change what happened, he continued. I cannot bring her back. But I can choose what to do now. I can choose to help these people. I can choose to keep moving. I can choose to be afraid and still stand. The darkness outside flickered. The cold retreated just a little. Jisoo stared at him with wide eyes. It is working. The hollow is getting weaker. One by one, the others started to speak. Sora talked about her father, who had beaten her when she was young. She had spent her whole life trying to be perfect so no one would ever hurt her again. June talked about his first mate, who had died in a ship crash because of a mistake he made. He had never forgiven himself. The human survivors shared their stories too. Lost children. Failed marriages. Mistakes that could never be undone. Even the humans from the Bright Dawn joined in. Daeho talked about his brother, who had drowned in front of him when they were boys. Yuna talked about a patient she had lost, a young girl who had trusted her to make everything okay. Quan talked about the war he had fought in, the things he had done that still woke him up at night. And then Han spoke. I had a daughter, he said. His voice was quiet, but everyone heard him. Her name was Minji. She was 7 years old. She died in an accident 3 years ago. I was the one driving the vehicle. The silence was absolute. I blamed myself for a long time. Some days, I still do. But I learned something important. The guilt does not help her. The shame does not bring her back. The only thing I can do for her now is keep living. Keep helping people. Keep being the person she believed I was. He looked at the darkness outside. You hear that? You can show me my daughter's face 1,000 times. You can make me feel that pain over and over. But you cannot break me. Because I have accepted what happened. I carry it with me, and I keep moving forward. The darkness convulsed. The pressure in Tael's mind spiked, then faded. The cold retreated further. Stars began to appear outside the window. It is letting us go, Mira said. Her voice was full of wonder. The hollow is letting us go. Jisoo stood up slowly. Her face was wet with tears, but her eyes were clear for the first time since Tael had met her. You did it, she whispered. You actually did it. Han shook his head. We all did it. Together. The bright dawn flew forward into the light. The darkness fell away behind them, fading into the void where it belonged. But Tael knew the hollow was not defeated. It was still out there, waiting for the next ship that came too close. Waiting for the next minds to feed on. But now he knew the secret. Now he knew how to fight it. Not with weapons, not with strength, not with running away. With truth. With acceptance. With the choice to keep moving forward. The humans had known this all along. That was why the galaxy feared them. Not because they were strong or fast or clever, but because they had learned to turn their greatest weakness into their greatest strength, fear. The oldest enemy of all living things, and humans had learned to walk beside it. 3 weeks had passed since they escaped the hollow. Tael stood on the observation deck of Station Varath, watching ships come and go, cargo vessels, passenger transports, military cruisers with weapons that could destroy planets. All the power of the galaxy, moving through space like blood through veins. He did not feel afraid anymore. Not of the ships, not of the void, not even of his own memories. The survivors of the wandering star had been taken to medical facilities across the system. Most of them would need years of therapy. Some would never fully recover. But they were alive. That was what mattered. Jisoo had asked to stay with the Bright Dawn. She said she wanted to learn from the humans. She wanted to understand how they had done what they did. Captain Han had agreed without hesitation. The crew of the Bright Dawn had become famous. Word had spread across the galaxy about what they had done. A small human ship, flying into the Hollow Zone, rescuing survivors that everyone else had given up for dead, facing the ancient terror and walking away. The Drell had sent official congratulations. The Korvathi Empire had offered Han a medal. Even the secretive Mithrani had reached out, asking for details about the encounter. But the humans had refused all interviews. They had refused the medals. They had returned to their ship and gone back to work, like nothing special had happened. That was the human way, Tael had learned. They did not celebrate their victories. They just moved on to the next challenge. He heard footsteps behind him. Soft and steady. He knew who it was without turning around. "Yuna," he said. She came to stand beside him. Her reflection appeared in the observation window, warm and kind. "How are you feeling?" Tyel considered the question carefully. A few weeks ago, he would have said he was fine. He would have hidden his pain behind a mask of calm. Now he told the truth. "Better," he said. "Not healed, but better. The memories are still there, but they do not control me anymore. It is like I can look at them without drowning." Yuna nodded. "That is how it works. The pain never goes away completely. But you learn to carry it. You learn to let it exist, without letting it define you. Is that what humans do? Is that how you survive so much?" She smiled. "We have had a lot of practice. Our history is full of terrible things. Wars, plagues, disasters. We have lost so much. So many times. But we keep going. We keep building. We keep hoping." Tael turned to look at her. "Why? Why do you keep going when things are so hard?" Yuna thought about this for a long moment. Then she pointed out the window at the ships and the stars. "Because the universe is beautiful. Because life is precious. Because somewhere out there, someone needs help. And we might be the only ones who can give it." She looked at him with her warm brown eyes. "That is what humans are, Tael. We are the ones who show up. No matter how dark things get, no matter how scared we are, we show up. Because that is what living means. Not avoiding pain, but facing it. Not running from fear, but walking with it." Tael understood now. He finally understood why the galaxy feared humans. It was not their technology. It was not their numbers. It was not their weapons or their ships or their colonies spread across 1,000 worlds. It was their spirit. Humans were the species that looked at impossible odds and said, "Let us try anyway." They were the species that walked into the darkness with nothing but a light and a hope. They were the species that turned their own weakness into strength, their own fear into fuel. The ancient empires had tried to conquer the galaxy with force. The Hollow had tried to break minds with terror. But the humans had found something different. Something stronger. They had found each other. "I am staying," Tael said suddenly. Yuna raised an eyebrow. "Staying where?" On the Bright Dawn. I want to continue working with your crew. I want to learn more about humans. I want to help." Yuna smiled. "We would be happy to have you. But are you sure? Our work is dangerous. We do not take the safe paths." "I know." Tael straightened his forearms. "I am done with safe paths. I spent my whole life being careful, being afraid, being small. I do not want to live like that anymore." "What do you want?" Tael looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, another ship was in trouble. Another crew was sending out distress signals. Another group of people was waiting for someone to help. "I want to show up," he said, "like humans do. I want to face the darkness and keep walking. I want to be afraid and do the right thing anyway." Yuna reached out and took one of his hands. Her grip was warm and strong. "Then welcome to the crew." They walked back to the docking bay together. The Bright Dawn was waiting, its hull gleaming in the station lights. Captain Han was standing at the loading ramp, talking with Daeho about engine repairs. When Han saw Tael approaching, he nodded. It was a small gesture, but Tael understood its meaning. Acceptance. Respect. "Welcome. We have a new mission," Han said. "Medical supplies to the outer colonies. There are reports of a plague. People are dying." "Another dangerous run," Daeho said. "The route goes through pirate territory." "Are we going?" Tael asked. Han looked at him. For a moment, Tael saw something flicker in the captain's eyes. Not surprise, but something like approval. "Of course we are going. People need help." Tael climbed aboard the ship. The corridors felt familiar now. The hum of the engines felt like home. He found his station in the research lab. His notes on human behavior were scattered across the desk, the same notes he had been making since he first joined the crew. But now he understood that notes were not enough. You could not learn about humans by watching them from a distance. You had to stand beside them. You had to face what they faced. You had to feel what they felt. The ship vibrated as the engines powered up. Through the window, Tail watched Station Vareth fall away. The stars stretched into lines as they entered the jump lane. Somewhere ahead, there was danger. There was fear. There was darkness. But there was also hope. Tael pulled up his research notes and began to write. Day 112 aboard the Bright Dawn. I have decided to stay permanently. I finally understand why I came here. I was looking for an answer to a question I did not know how to ask. Why does the galaxy fear humans? The answer is simple. Humans are not afraid of being afraid. They feel every terror that other species feel. They know every darkness, every pain, every loss. But they do not let these things stop them. They stand up. They move forward. They help each other. And when the darkness comes for them, they look it in the eye and say, "Not today." I am proud to stand with them. I am honored to call them friends. And I am no longer afraid. He closed his notebook and looked out at the stars. The universe was vast and cold and full of things that wanted to break you, but he was not alone anymore. He was standing with humans, and together, they would face whatever came next.